Yes, Europe is a garden. We have built a garden. The rest of the world, most of the rest of the world is a jungle. And the jungle could invade the garden.
What's the difference between a garden and a jungle? A garden's a nice place where civilized human beings walk around. A jungle is the heart of darkness, where wild animals live. Now, many people in Africa, Asia, Latin America remember very well how in the name of civilization, European colonialism treated them like wild animals, enslaving them, torturing them, and even exhibiting them in human zoos. Therefore, when the highest diplomat of the European Union compares Europe to a garden, but especially the rest of the world to a jungle, the message these people hear is that Europe is still driven by neocolonialism. We cannot let that message pass.
The Pact for the Continuation of Colonization said, 1. You shall deposit 85% of your bank reserves with the French Central Bank under the control of the French Minister of Finance. The French government will take all your monies, collectively invest your monies in the French stock market under the French name. And you don't have to know what the returns are. Should you wish to access some of your money, keep in mind that countries are now left with only 15% of their reserves. You have to submit your country's financial report. And if approved, you get to access up to 20% of your deposits from the previous year as a loan at commercial interest rates. So you go from having a humongous credit with France to now owing France for borrowing your own money, a loan that you'll never be able to finish paying. They also said, all your minerals discovered and yet to be discovered, French companies have the first right of refusal. You go to those countries today, all major contracts, French companies have the first right of refusal. The water supply, the power supply, the mining fixtures, the oil rigs, roads construction, airports, French companies have the first right of refusal. France shall have military presence in your country and can invade your country without notice if France feels that her interests in your country are being violated.
% of the world's land area, including much of West Africa. In reaction to the wave of independence that followed the Second World War, the French came up with the idea of a CFA franc monetary system, a currency union that pegged the currencies of most francophone African countries to the French franc. The CFA stands for Franc of the Financial Community of Africa, but originally stood for Franc of the French Colonies in Africa. Technically, there are two African francs, the West African CFA franc, used in 8 West African countries, and the Central African CFA franc, used in 6 Central African countries. But because the two currencies have always been at parity, they're effectively interchangeable. Now, at the time, the French government pitched it as a humanitarian exercise, because the CFA was actually stronger than the French franc, which was devalued in order to peg it to the dollar as part of the new Bretton Woods system. From 1945 until 1948, one CFA franc bought 1.7 French francs, before a revaluation in 1948 to 2 French francs, which lasted until 1959. This allowed these countries to continue importing stuff from abroad at the same rate they had previously before the franc was devalued. Today, the CFA franc is pegged to the euro at 656 CFA francs to the euro, and the French Treasury guarantees all CFA members unlimited convertibility of CFA francs into euros, while the with patronisingly stringent restrictions. In exchange for the unlimited convertibility between CFA francs and euros guaranteed by the French Treasury, CFA countries have to deposit 50% of their foreign exchange reserves at the Bank of France in exchange for French foreign aid, plus another 20% to act as collateral for any financial liabilities. CFA countries can only access 15% of the money in any given year, and if they need more than that, they'd have to borrow their own money from France at a fee. While there's a plan to scrap these borrowing requirements as part of the move towards a new so-called often via the G5 Sahel grouping, the French military has intervened to prop up pro-Paris dictators in the past and, more recently, to support French companies with commercial interests in the region. Run by the French state-owned company Areva, which is important for France's nuclear power plants and weapons. In addition, France has maintained a military presence in Gabon since they helped prop up Omar Bongo. This has massively benefited a French company called Total Energies, which has been extracting Gabonese oil and uranium for over 80 years.
Things changed and France is going back to the garden. Let them stay in the garden. Leave West Africa alone.